and welcome to Mimi's Sketchbook. Today my illustration was inspired by Paul David Tripp's devotional book, New Morning Mercies, and today I'm reading in September 28th. Last night I got together with my brother and sister-in-law and my sister, who started to tell us a story about how some chipmunks had dug burrows into her garden out in front of her house, and every day she would have to go out and clean up the mess they made. So this had been going on for a while, and she was getting pretty tired of it. So she and her daughter got together and they were trying to figure out a plan to get rid of that chipmunk. Well, a little later in the day, she was in the house and looked outside and saw something going on right where that garden was. And this is what she saw. And I don't know if you can tell, but that is a hawk sitting right there with its claws clutched around a dead chipmunk. I thought that was pretty amazing because she lives in a busy neighborhood with lots of kids running through her yard and lots of dogs for that hawk to come in. So it turned out to be a good solution to her problem, but I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't a few more chipmunks to take its place. So we talked a little bit more about chipmunks and squirrels and all the mischief that they can get into. And my family kind of looked at me and said, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't do anything. I really enjoy the squirrels and the chipmunks. I like seeing them run around the yard and up and down the trees and across the top of the fence. I think it's kind of enjoyable. And I do. I wasn't kidding about it. One of the reasons why is because I have a neighbor who it seems his life mission is to kill every squirrel, chipmunk, and rabbit that comes into his yard. And when some time goes by, when I'm out in the yard and I don't see a squirrel running around, I get this sinking feeling that, oh no, he's finally done it. He's taken out all the squirrels. So I actually feel a sense of relief when I see one. So sometimes squirrels do make a mess. They dig holes. They especially like the bench on my deck. And they sit there and they'll eat a pine cone. It's like they strip every one of the little leaves off of a pine cone in search of the seeds on it, drop them all right there. Or they'll peel a black walnut and leave all the droppings there for me. They're so thoughtful. This is a picture of a flat of stargazer lilies that I planted this spring. And I had just been admiring their progress and walked away to another part of the garden when a squirrel must have smelled those delicious lily bulbs and ate the whole thing. Yes, I was a little disappointed, but hey, they're just flowers. And I really do enjoy watching the antics of the squirrels and the chipmunks. The squirrels that live in my area and all up and down the eastern part of the United States and Canada are called eastern gray squirrels. But there are over 400 varieties of squirrels. And they live on every continent except Australia, and Antarctica. Some people call squirrels rats with bushy tails, and they are sort of right because they're classified as rodents, along with chipmunks, groundhogs, and prairie dogs. At this time of year, squirrels are foraging for food, stocking up for winter. And you are probably seeing the evidence that they are burying their nuts and seeds everywhere. This activity is called scatter hoarding. But a squirrel has a great sense of smell and an amazing memory, which allows them to find up to 80% of the 1,000 or more caches of food that each squirrel will bury for the upcoming winter. So next year, when I find an oak or black walnut tree growing up in my yard, I'll know that it must have grown up from one of the caches of food that they missed or didn't need. Another common complaint about these bushy acrobats are that they get into the bird feeders. And as hard as humans try to create a squirrel-proof bird feeder, the squirrels usually have the last laugh. Can have up to 2 litters a year, and there's usually an average of 4 babies in each litter, and she will mate with any willing male in the area. And she will build a nest either in the hollow of a tree, or she will use sticks and leaves to build a comfy nest around the fork of a tree. And she'll line it with moss, dried grasses, and feathers. If a squirrel can survive its first year of life, it can live an average of 6 years and up to 12. A squirrel is most vulnerable while it's on the ground, so if it senses danger, it will head straight up a tree. It will also warn the other squirrels in the area by wagging its tail up and down, or by making a series of noises called clucks or quaws, which I often mistook for bird calls. Whether you're a fan of squirrels like me, or you rather they just didn't visit your yard, one thing we can all agree on is that these little guys sure are busy. Today in his devotions, Paul Tripp talks about laziness. And he says a lazy person usually thinks that everything is about him, his wants, his needs, and his feelings. And a lazy person will actually work to avoid something hard or uncomfortable. And isn't that just sad? Because don't you feel terrific after you've finished a job that at first you thought maybe you couldn't accomplish, but you did it? Paul Tripp goes on to say, but the fact of the matter is that we were created to work, and not just for the good of our own lives, but in willing and joyful submission to the one who created us. I know that sometimes it's hard to get up and get going, but maybe we should learn a lesson from our industrious friends, the squirrels, and get busy. like our life depended on it. So thank you for joining me today at Mimi's Sketchbook. I hope this was an encouragement to you. And if it was, you might consider getting a copy of New Morning Mercies and reading along with me. Or how about try drawing a squirrel? That is, if you can get one to sit still for you long enough to draw it. Now that would be some quick sketching. So thanks for joining me, and God bless.